We are live today with my friend Lucy Kelly.
Hi.
I am so excited to have you on the show. We are buds over in Momentum. Lucy is an entrepreneur, but she comes from the DIY world. She is a jewelry designer and she's a maker. And I really love that because I started off working with a lot of furniture painters and designers and DIYers. So I love to help business owners like you make money online with your talent, and you'd like to do the same thing, and you have since grown a whole business plus the coaching business. So I would love you to tell everybody about how you started. Paint us a picture of what your business is like. Where do you live? Like all the good stuff.
Okay, well, I got a lot. So thank you so much for having me, Emily. I really appreciate it. So I started out before this telling Emily I was going to get myself a nice clean background, but anybody here who's a maker or knows makers knows that this is the real deal here. So I feel like I'm coming to you live and I'm coming to you real. So like Emily said, my name is Lucy Kelly. I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I have had my jewelry business, Bell Manili, since 2010. And in 2019, I launched a course teaching handmade sellers how to bring their offline businesses online. So a little bit about me, my background story. I kind of took a long winding road to get to where I am today. It started out with, I actually have my undergraduate degree in marketing in 2002. And I graduated and thought that I was going to be doing awesome late 90s marketing stuff, but as anybody who is about my age knows, that didn't happen at that time. Everything kind of crashed down on the, literally when September 11th happened, all of the big marketing jobs, all of that stuff really kind of came to a halt. All the marketing budgets stopped. So I graduated and I started selling copiers, which is about as close to selling your soul as you can get. It sucked as much as it sounds like it sucked. I made a lot of money and I hated it. So then I moved on to selling commercial insurance. I was a commercial insurance underwriter. And that also, it was okay. Actually, I really liked the company that I worked for, but I was constantly having this crisis of I'm not helping anybody. I'm not doing anything for anybody. So it was in 2004, I went back to grad school and got my master's degree in speech and language pathology. So I now specialize in early childhood language development. That is my area of expertise, and I've been doing that since 2007. And then in the summer of 2010, I was looking for something to do to keep my hands busy while my boyfriend traveled, my boyfriend at the time, and thought, well, I'll take some classes. I'll learn how to make jewelry. I'll learn how to knit. I'll learn how to sew, blah, blah, blah. Well, I was all but asked to leave the sewing class because I'm terrible at sewing. I'm not a sewist. The knitting takes too long. Shout out to you knitters. I don't know how you do it, and crocheters, because it is hard to get paid for your work. It takes a long time, but the jewelry making stuck. So it just kind of came naturally to me. It was easy to do. It was the color combinations. I like the different textures and feels. And at the end of making something, you had a thing right there to make. So,
I love that.
So that worked for me. Yeah, it's a real you get a result right away, which is what we all like, right? So that was in 2010, and in 2010 in Pittsburgh, the art and handmade scene was very big, where it's remained very big. So it has helped being in a city, in a place that really supports the arts and really supports makers, and there were a lot of market opportunities for me, meaning I could go to shows, and we had great indie markets and craft fairs and things like that. We had the Three Rivers Arts Festival and all kinds of really cool stuff. So I started doing shows. My first show was a little indie market that was on the south side here of Pittsburgh. I had no idea what I was doing. I took my little necklace and set them out on a table, and I made $160, and it was in 5 hours. And I was like, holy crap, I just made $160 selling stuff that I made. Yeah, I'm this is it. I could do this. So then I was like, wow, that's really cool. And looked around to see what else I could do with this, because again, I'm a speech therapist. I was working in an elementary school at that time, so I didn't have tons of time to be, just making jewelry all day, because I had to do grown-up shit, pay bills, pay for school and all that stuff. So I found Etsy. And Etsy was still fairly new at that point. They started in 2005. So in 2010, they were still fairly new, but kind of up and coming. People were getting on there and it was starting to be, it was like the indie craft market of the online world. Very different than it is today, but it was this place where you could go and buy and sell really cool handmade stuff. So I got my Etsy shop up and running, and that's how I got started online. Then it just kind of grew from there. I fell into the niche of creating with upcycled vintage costume jewelry. Got featured in a few big publications, made my way into some bigger shows, and kind of found my niche, which is the key, because anybody here who's listening or who knows anything, like when you make jewelry is such a saturated market, it can be hard to get into shows. It can be hard to get found. It can be hard to get, you get caught up in the noise. But as with anything, like finding that niche, finding that specialty had really worked for me. And that's what I came to be known for. And that is what I developed. And now 10 years and a little over $500,000 in sales later of like my own stuff that I made with my hands, here I am. So that's that's the short version of a long story.
How did you teach yourself how to do this?
I took a class. For the basics of jewelry making, I took a class at a local craft store to learn how to use the tools. Because again, I mean, YouTube was around in 2010, but people didn't really do that. There weren't a whole lot of like tutorials or anything like that. So you still like went and took actual classes. If it was today, I just go on YouTube and figure out how to use it. But yeah, I took a little class and started playing around. And, once I figured out how to use the tools, the rest of it is kind of trial and error. I don't do silversmithing or anything like that, or any kind of like, serious jewelry making like that. I work with costume jewelry, so the process is a little bit different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do you find the costume jewelry? Like, do you go hunting for that? Is that part of it?
I do. So I use a combination of new beads and stuff, which I usually get at a bead show, which aren't going on now. And then the vintage stuff I get at flea markets. I do a lot of hunting. It's fun. It's a lot of fun because my friend Jeannie and I travel together and do shows together and stuff. So we get together and go. Here in Pennsylvania, there's a lot of flea markets, and there's one just over the border in Ohio that we can't go to right now because of COVID. But yeah, that's what I do. So
you hit on something important there about how you took a course to get ahead, which in our world is a thing now. I don't think I knew about that kind of stuff 10 years ago. There were some in-person sewing classes and whatnot, but nowadays everything's online too. You can find those courses online that are in order for you. You can find free stuff on YouTube and piece it together. But I just want everyone here around listening to this to hear that, because if there's something you want, that course can help you get to the finish line faster, and with a mentor who knows what they're doing, like no wasted time. So
right. And the information is out there. I mean, that's the thing. Even like as a handmade seller, I'm educating myself constantly because it's my business. This is my livelihood. This is what I do now. But as a course creator on the other side, sometimes I would grapple with like, people could find this information. It's out there. Like, who am I to charge? But when it comes down to it, what you're paying for is my ability to vet the information and to determine what is valid and what is not, and combine it all into one and present you with the information, explain what it means, and tell you why it matters. So and that's really what it's all about. Like, you can hunt and peck around online and you can find out, like, I'm sure with you, Emily, you could like probably look on YouTube or Google blog articles on how to be a VA. But do you really know? Like, just because people say something doesn't mean it's true. Just because there's a blog article out there doesn't mean the person who wrote it knows what they're talking about.
Yes.
And that is the key, is like, you need to trust the person who's educating you and trust that they could go out and find and collect the best information and present it to you and support you in learning and stuff like that. So very important.
Now you've made this super successful business. Tell me those figures again that you just said earlier.
You know what? I actually, like, when I was launching my course, I was trying to go through and, you like, again, like, who am I to be telling you this? I have to like look and really quantify the reasons, like who I am to tell you this. And I look back at my numbers, and because when I started selling, I didn't take credit cards. I wrote down on a piece of paper what I sold.
Oh my goodness.
I know, like when I look back at my numbers though, when I started using Square and through my website and Etsy, yeah, since 2010, I've sold over $500,000 in handmade jewelry, which is a lot. It's a lot of money.
A lot of work too. Good job.
It's a heck of a lot of work. It is a heck of a lot of work. I pump out a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So what has made you so successful? What have been some of those keys to getting your jewelry found and bought and marketed, all of that?
Yeah, it's I mean, here's the thing, and this is what I teach in my course. So I'm not plugging, but I'm backing it up because I want to give you an understanding for this. So in my course, I teach people really kind of marketing and getting their business online. And when I really dove into like, why do I sell so much? Why does this work? It's some of it is kind of being in the right place at the right time. I found what my niche was. I found that I can't give my stuff away at a traditional like school gym craft show. I can't. Like people don't understand this. They don't know why I do that. They don't want it. But at like the country living fair or a vintage market, I've got people waiting in line for a half an hour to buy from me because I found the right people. I'm in front of the right people. And that's what makes the difference. And then once you have found the right people, it's really about your personality. Like people are buying from me because they know exactly who I am. They know exactly what to expect from me. They know like this is me. They know that I'm going to show up with the messy workroom behind me. They know that I'm not putting on any airs. They trust me because I've been reliable. I've shown up on my social channels regularly and with authenticity. I've served them well by mailing them their products on time and following up with them to make sure they like it and fixing any problems that come up. They know where to find me at shows, and if I say I'm going to be there, I'm there. I take time to listen to people's stories. I'm one of those people that like people will come up to me and just tell me lots of awkward things, usually medically related, and I don't know why. Like I know about lots of like boils and cuts, and I don't know why, but I listen to that, you know. I don't always have feedback to offer, but
why does this keep coming up in all my interviews, like foot problems and like medical conditions?
Yeah, I get people that tell me all kinds of stuff, or, you know, just people want to be heard is really the long and short of it. And that's across the board. People just want to feel heard. And I think that I'm good at hearing people and letting them feel heard. And that makes a difference. I make a quality product, and I know that I do because I've been working on it and refining it over the years. But what keeps people coming back to me is that they know exactly what to expect from me. Like there's no surprises, there's no shocks, there's no what the heck is she doing? Like they know exactly what to expect from me. And that really is the secret, is to establish yourself as the authority in whatever it is you do. And you can't waver from that. Like you can't fall off from that. You can't be like, oh, whoops, I messed up. You know, I'm going to ghost you for a week, or I'm going to make something totally different, or I'm going to start using crappy materials, or you can't, like, you have to be consistent and stay steady in that.
Well, I have a question for everybody watching this. Hands up in the comments. Let me know where you got jewelry from. If you bought them online, like what was the site? What was the platform? I'd love to hear from you. And I've bought something off of Etsy that fell apart right away, like the day I wore it. And that is no good for a long-term growth of a business when it's not a quality product. And the same goes with digital products.
Right.
And like in-person products or physical products. But hands up if you've bought something. I would love to hear from you all. Also, there was something else I was going to piggyback off of that, and it's gone. I need to like get rid of my mental notes, otherwise I forget stuff. But it's like marketing 101 is that know, like, trust factor, getting out there, being consistent in your social media, having, you guys have heard this. Some of you it might be new to you. My students, it's not new to, but getting the maker in front of the camera, getting their face seen, getting their voice heard, all of that is really important to building that rapport and that trust. So somebody does want to buy from you. And when it comes Christmas time, they're thinking about handmade gifts and shopping and buying locally. They're going to think of you, and you have to put in a lot of work. I don't think people realize how much work that is. You don't just like make it, just sells. We're not at that level, right?
No, and I myself am notably bad at that, at like putting my own face out there.
So you're doing it in person for years. I
Yeah.
mean, the world is a little different now, but you've been doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that for a lot of handmade sellers, I mean, things that we had talked before, and you had said maybe giving some suggestions for things that VAs could do to support handmade sellers. And like, I can tell you as a handmade seller, I know exactly what I want, and I don't have any idea how to tell you what it is. Like, I know what it is because I make things and I see things in like processes, but to actually put that down on paper or digitally or whatever and like convey that to somebody else is extremely difficult because there's so much context behind it, and I don't know how to convey that context. So like, if you could come to me with like Emily, I think you put together like a client voice spreadsheet or questionnaire that was extremely helpful because it makes you think of things that like, I find that I do have these sayings that I use frequently, or these emojis that I use frequently, or things that it's like, oh, I would never say that. Like, it just kind of helps you figure that out. But, things that would be very helpful to a handmade seller are like that encouragement of like, hey, you have to at least like get pictures of your hands out there making stuff. Like, if you don't want to put your face out, fine, but you have to get some part of your body in this picture so that people realize it is an actual human creating it, because sometimes people don't realize that. Especially if you make something really beautiful, or if you take really good pictures and it actually looks really pro, sometimes people don't realize like, oh, that is actually handmade. Like, you did actually do that. So you have to really humanize it. And the other thing that would be that is helpful is having a plan for not just putting stuff out on social media, which is very important, especially right now, because there's a lot of support for handmade sellers on social media, but trying to figure out how to capitalize and grow on that, how to figure out how to like strategically use hashtags to get shared by like American Express because they have Small Business Saturday, or by, Instagram has like the small business sticker that is specifically for shopping small, and they will periodically do features in their what do you call it, the discovery area? Do they still call it that? They'll periodically feature in the discovery area shop small, and if you use their sticker on their stories, they will feature that in their shop small area. So like, yeah, I don't know how often they do that. I don't know what the formula is for that, but they do have a specific shop small sticker that you tag your business in it, and then that gets you into that queue.
Such a good tip. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. And any behind the scenes person here, any freelancer or VA, you bring that to your client, you're gonna look super smart. Mm-hmm. You can credit Lucy. I can never take it away. So going back to this creative and how you work with them, it can be very hard because they have a lot of ideas. Like you said, can't always communicate it. What's the best way to get on the same page with somebody like that?
The best way, I think, to get on the same page is to come with a flexible outline. Like, sometimes it's nice to say, like, you know what, A, B, C, and D work. I need you to choose 2 of those, and this is where we're going to go with it. So like, you can do this, 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 and this, and then they make a choice. And now that doesn't work for everybody. But for me, I'm maybe a little bit different because I have like a business mind and I have a creative mind, but a lot of creative minds do not have that business mind, which is kind of what I teach in my course, because they don't have that. But what a lot of them like is, like, if you say, tell me what you want me to do, they have no idea. But if you say, I can do X, Y, Z, choose, that's a lot easier. So be it like coming with a set, even if it's a very generic set of like, here's what we can do. I found that it's really like, people are having a lot of success if they post on Pinterest 3 times a day, 5 days a week. I can do that for you. Post on Instagram twice a day, 5 days a week. I can do that for those specific things that are kind of general in what they are, but specific in that they're measurable. Like, that's much easier to work with, because then it's like, oh, okay.
Oh my God, that's really good advice because it can be very overwhelming with all of the things you could help them with. And it's generally good to just narrow it down, keep it simple. I teach my virtual assistants to do that when they start with a client anyway, to kind of learn if they're going to work well together. But I also have a resource in the crash course, in my digital media crash course, that is, we call it the loose client path. You can come in there and like pick and choose the things that might not be done yet that you might need to do. Like maybe you do need to build an affiliate landing page based on some of your top tools, like some things, somebody might need to do when they're trying to monetize their business. So little things like that are really helpful. But I find most of my creatives have a hard time consistently coming up with the content and doing the emails, the weekly emails. It's a really hard concept for them to grasp. And I'm not, everybody has to do the same thing. I have clients who do a monthly or a bi-weekly email, but I usually find myself with these clients coming in and explaining, like, showing up consistently. And then, like you said, picking and choosing what we need to do. Pinterest is amazing. It does so well. I prefer Pinterest, 1,000 times over for a creative client than a business coach client. Like when it comes to business articles in Pinterest, I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to do that. I want to do the fun stuff. I want to do the pretty pictures. I want to do this terms. It's so much easier to help a client get moving faster. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I like that. I really like showing up for Pinterest for them. But you're doing such a service for them because it frees up time so they can be doing the crafting, and making, and other marketing things that require their face and their knowledge.
Because the making, like, it's the making, but it's also like, it's so time intensive, and those are things that you usually can't source out. Like, you have to buy the stuff, you have to make the stuff, you have to photograph the stuff, you have to list the stuff. Then when you sell the stuff, you got to pack the stuff, wrap the stuff, and ship the stuff. So it's a lot of, like, there's not a lot of extra time in there, because I would say the vast majority of handmade sellers are working like real jobs too. So this is all happening outside of the 9 to 5.
Yes. So we can help by helping with the listing and the SEO and the resizing the photos and the watermarking the photos and helping with that online inventory. I've had a couple of our students help build the Etsy shops from scratch and do the graphics for that, because it's very like, well, now I'm going off on a thing here, but Etsy, it's very much about the keywords you use, right? It's how you name your file images, it's how you write your descriptions. And a lot of creatives don't want to do that work. It can be very tedious, but it's so important. So what can they do, or an assistant do, when they don't know the industry as well? I struggled with this doing the furniture paint world. Like, I had a lot to learn when it came to like techniques and the right words to use. How do you get that out of your client?
That is really hard. Well, first of all, I have to stop and say that anything Etsy related, Lauren Kilgore is your girl to go to. She runs Handmade Sellers University. She's a Momentum member. She is fantastic. Yeah, she has her courses, I think Etsy 101 and Etsy 201. She has like specific Etsy courses, but she herself is a wreath maker and she has beautiful wreaths. So like, if anybody needs any resources or help with Etsy, Lauren is your girl, because she teaches that specifically. That being said, like, I've been on Etsy forever, so I can speak to it, but she is like a really good teacher of it. But you're right, on Etsy in particular, all of those things are important. Because you are in competition, not that you're not in competition on a website, but on Etsy, like, you're in competition with so many other shops. I mean, there are millions of shops. There is a website called eRank, and it's ERANK, and it's a website that will help you kind of figure out how to optimize your site. It will give you a ranking of what percentage of shops, like, my Belle Manili shop, even though I'm not super active in it, I am a top 1% Etsy seller, which means that I have sold more in my Etsy shop than 99% of Etsy shops. Now, I should qualify that by saying there's lots of people that open Etsy shops and never put anything in them, so that number might be a little bit skewed. But eRank is very helpful in suggesting keywords, suggesting long tail and short tail keywords, suggesting like edits to your listing. It will tell you if you have misspelled words. It will tell you if your titles are confusing. It will suggest tags and keywords. So I would recommend anybody who's looking to get into that to use that website called eRank. They have a lot of good information there, and it's good keyword. It's specifically for Etsy, but it's a great tool for searching keywords like in general. I sell on Shopify and on Etsy, and I like the keywords. The keywords are the keywords. Do you know what I mean? Like someone looking for my necklace, if they find it on Shopify or they find it on Etsy, their keyword search remains the same. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no matter what.
So that's a really good source. So in order to in order to get like general help with the Etsy shop, I would strongly recommend looking into eRank. In order to get the wording from the handmade seller, I would say maybe getting a list or like looking on their social media or maybe doing like a Zoom call where you get what they call things, which is really like, I don't know if it's that way across all industries or if it's more specific to creatives, but like we have these words that we call things and we think other people know what they are and we don't. Like that's not always the case. Yes. And then you have to like I've learned now, like there are things that I call something one thing, but the rest of the world calls it something else. So of course I have to, in front of the rest of the world, call it that something else because that's what people are going to search.
You do live in Pittsburgh. Though, this is why it is good to have a rookie, somebody who's complete like virgin to this industry, because they can put it in their layman's terms, and that might actually be the thing people are searching. Or like it depends on who your audience is. If your audience is very aware of the product they're buying and what it's called, they are going to use a different terminology. But I actually love to use Voxer to communicate with clients really quickly. I get really, it can be hard when you're shuffling, like the pictures are over here in Dropbox and the descriptions are all over the place. And sometimes a quick Voxer, like, how would you describe this? What is this? But also making sure the client QCs it. Ultimately, it's their business. I want them to get the final, eyeball on it and make sure I said it right. Because I've messed up things before. A paint color sounded one way and it wasn't actually gray. It was a white, and I'm calling it a gray color, So like getting that final look, I think is really going to set yourself up while you're learning the business.
Right. And it's actually really good. Like, if you want to double down on multitasking, it would really be good content. What I used to do and what I still do is like, I would post a picture on my social media and be like, if you wanted to find this, what would you call it? And people will comment. And sometimes they say things, I'm like, where'd you come up with that? For me, sometimes it's a little odd because my people know me. So they would like give me some name that they know I would title it. And it's like, well, no, don't tell me what you think I'd call it. Tell me what you would search if you would find it. But that's that's some good extra content to be putting out there. And it's good for building engagement because people love to tell you their opinions on everything. And then it gives you those words. It gives you that copy bank of words that like people might be searching for that you would never have dreamed someone would use to describe your product.
So do you have your own copy bank and do you have something like that? Or do you...
in a Google Doc.
Okay. Sometimes we go to basics here just so people who are starting know what to do, but I do the same. I'll have like hashtag banks. I'll do copy banks all in a Google Doc too. And then my clients can add to it. I can add to it. Anyone else from the team can add to it. Yeah. So it's really good.
I also use the save on Facebook. There is a feature where you can and I guess you can do it on Instagram too. I don't, for some reason, do it as much on there, but you can save something and you can create different folders. So like I save ads. I'm always, you call it a swipe file and it sounds like you're stealing, but it's like I swipe ads, I swipe posts, I swipe, like if I like a picture, I'll swipe, the design, like the style of the picture. So that feature is really nice because when you save something either on Facebook or on Instagram, you can go back later and kind of look at it all at once. And if you're feeling real fancy, you could probably like screenshot it and save it into Asana or something, like create a file with them.
Yeah. Evernote's good for that too. But yeah, I have a ton of different like bookmarks on Facebook and tabs and one's like podcasts. One's like insight. One is people complaining, like stuff that will give me content.
Yeah, so. I know. Every now and again, we're probably in some similar groups too. Yeah, like when the train really goes off the rails, you're like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. Never say that. And you save all those things.
Like remind myself. I'm going to say going back to do it is important. Yeah. So what have you been selling your jewelry on? What platforms have you been using?
Right. I use Shopify as my main selling platform now. I do maintain and will always maintain my Etsy shop. I use it now more, I call it as a marketing tool. And what I mean is because most of my things like this, they're one of a kind. If I list it on, I have such a client base now that I know as soon as I list things like this, they'll sell. So for me, it's not worth putting that on Etsy because the fees are so much higher comparatively.
Yeah.
The fees for Etsy aren't high, but compared to, I know I'll list this on my site that I already pay for and it'll sell right away. I use Etsy for my products that I can remake. So I have like little earrings, a line of quote bracelets and things that goes on Etsy. And then in each listing in my Etsy shop, I have a link to my landing page for my email sign up. In my photo carousel, my second photo is always a graphic instructing people to look in the product description, because anybody who has any experience with e-commerce knows that nobody reads the description. Nobody reads it. So you have to tell them to read it. As with everything, you have to tell people exactly what to do. You have to direct them to read it. And then while you cannot hyperlink in an Etsy description, you can say, copy and paste this link into your browser, and you are allowed to link to a landing page. You can't link, like I can't link to belmanili.com because they consider that fee avoidance, even if it's going to my email sign up. But email service provider, you can create a landing page for your sign up form and you can just post it in there. So that's what I do. That's what I use Etsy for mainly now, because I want all of my sales coming over to my website. Number one, because it's less expensive for me. Number two, because it is more branded. belmanili.com is me, and it's 100% me. Etsy is Etsy, and I just rent a space there. So, so I'm doing, like, all of my efforts go into my Shopify website.
I love that. That is really good business sense for you to do. And it's really good to diversify anyway and not count on one platform for all of your sales. So what you're doing, to explain it in layman's terms for everyone else, is using Etsy as a way for people to find you, fall in love with you. And then we all know people on Etsy are always wanting custom everything, right? They're always like,
they do. I don't offer, I actually stopped offering custom because I hate doing custom work. But yes, Etsy is a great place. If you are selling custom work, Etsy is a great place to be for that.
But then you can get their email, give them coupons, and direct them to your own site. And building that email list is what you're really trying to do, because that's where you get your repeat customers, and you don't depend on Etsy or somebody taking the extra effort to heart you, follow you. Like, it just takes extra work. People go to Etsy to search. So this is really smart. Every single creative out there, if you're listening, you need to have your own website. I know this is 2020. I still know people who don't do it, or if they're just getting started, or they think they can just do Facebook or just do Etsy, like work toward this goal of this setup that Lucy's talking about.
You at least need to have your own domain name. Like, you always have to have your own domain. For years, belmanili.com went to Etsy because you can point it wherever you want. At the very least, you have to have your own domain name. And please, 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 I'm going to put this out because I struggle with this in my group with my students. Your name has to be the same everywhere. You can't be like Jane's sewing here and Jane's studio here and Jane's knitting here. Like, it has to be the same name everywhere. And I run into this a lot with my students.
Really?
That they'll have like, oh, all the time. And it's like, you have if you don't have a name. I had someone that just emailed me, and it took me a long time to sort through. I'm like, you have 2 businesses and 8 names. So she said, is there brand confusion? I was like, yeah, there's brand confusion. You have 2 businesses and 8 names, and you're not, the things that you're making aren't that different. So, like, if you want to build a brand, you have to pick a name, stick to it, and be that name everywhere.
Yeah.
And if the name's taken, you got to pick a different one.
Yeah. Like, it's, yeah. Oh my gosh. What do you think about cheesy names? Do you have any opinions on that? Or what do you
Changing
like?
names?
No, I said cheesy names.
Oh, no. 86, no cheesy names. Unless that is so your brand. Unless that is like no, like craft with a K, no school with an SK. Like, unless for some reason that is just like who you are.
Yeah.
No.
Because
I mean, if that's who you are and that's your brand, that's fine. But if you're building a business and you're building a brand, like, do you want someone to take you seriously, or do you want them to think that you're selling stuff like a kid would make stuff and sell it? Like Like you're a real business. So if you don't take yourself seriously, like you can't expect other people to take you seriously. And this may sound a little bougie, and I don't mean it to be. And it's my personal opinion, so take it for what it's worth. Just because I say it doesn't mean, like I said, just because it's on the internet, it doesn't mean it's true. But you are not going to turn to like, you're not going to go in Better Homes and Gardens and find like Christie's craft room all with K's. Like you're just not, that doesn't happen for a reason. And it's not because the work isn't good. It's because that's not professional.
Right. Just like I'm going to send my kid to daycare that's kinder care with K's.
Right.
Or,
right.
You know what I mean, there's all different. Daycares always have the worst names and misspellings. Like
they do, but like that's like on. I mean, that's a little bit more on brand because it's dealing with kids, but it's not like you wouldn't go to like Kinder Care University with 2 Ks because that's not like, what are you learning there?
Yeah.
I think it's all perception, which is, and I know it sounds so snotty and I don't mean it to be, but the long and short of it is that's the way of the world. If you want to be viewed as a professional, you have to show up as a professional.
This is good advice because a lot of times we are the business buddy and the mentor and the therapist to our clients, and kind of talking through some of that or encouraging them to clean up their branding, be smarter, be more professional. Like this is very relevant, and you would not believe, you think you're getting hired to do, I don't know, posting new listings and whatnot, edit photos, and next thing you know, like you're giving advice, like you're helping the business owner like build a brand and reach more people, and little things like this will come up. And if like, your spidey sense is off, like something isn't quite right with how we're saying this or what this website looks like or even what their name is, like, it might not be somebody you want to align with long term, like that.
Right. And it doesn't mean that your brand can't be fun. I mean, you and I, Emily, we have very similar aesthetics. Like our colors are very similar. Like it doesn't mean you can't be fun and funky, but there's like, you can be fun and professional. So I think that's very important. I think having your website is important. I think being professional in your naming is important. It just like you're establishing who you are and what you stand for. You establish, the level of quality that you're going to put out there.
So how did you find yourself in this position giving advice to other handmakers? Like what was the evolution with that?
Well, I think it kind of harkens back to like, I'm one of those people that I guess I just sound like I know what I'm talking about. People tell me stuff that I don't need to know, but a lot of people, here's the thing. I have a successful handmade business.
Yeah, you do. So
when you find someone, and I don't, it's so awkward to say that, but it's the truth. And people see that and they ask, they would ask me, well, how'd you do this? How'd you do that? And, you, over the years, over 10 plus years, you learn little things. You learn what to do, you learn what not to do. You learn what shows to go to and what not to go to. Yeah. I pay attention to a lot of different things. I pay attention to other people's businesses. I pay attention to what people say, what people don't say, reactions, like in all of that, I take that in and I pull little bits here and there. So how I got to this place is I think people noticed the success. They noticed me selling, they noticed me doing these big shows, they noticed the sales. I'll have people that will say like, oh, I looked on your website and I watched things just bing, 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 go, go, go. Like, how do you do that? And it's like, well, it takes a long time unless you have some kind of like, I don't know. It would be very hard for it to happen right out of the gate. Like I can't think of any instance, unless you were a celebrity or had some kind of major street cred, like that you could come right out of the gate with huge success. It's a long game and you have to build it up.
Oh, that's
so I had people that were coming to me that were asking for help with things like building their Facebook page, building their Instagram, material, marketing, email, all that kind of stuff. And it's like, well, I do know all those things. So, hey, I could probably teach those things because I don't have the time. I think the real tipping point, my friend came to me and asked me if I would be her business coach. And I said, no, I don't have time to. Like, I will gladly help you, but no, I'm not going to be your business coach. And I had this idea kind of rolling around in my head for a while. And it's like, all right, I'm going to make this course and I'm going to teach people like how to like take what you have at art and craft fairs and move it online. Because there's something so unique about the whole like in-person show experience
Yeah.
because you are building that relationship with people and you don't even realize it. But like when people show up and they see you sitting there, and anybody who's ever sold at a show has at least once been asked, did you make all this? And it's like, you know, there's always an opening for a conversation. And once people know that you created something, and once they know that there's like that little piece of you in there, if they connect with you, they connect with your work. And that's how sales happen. So what I teach people to do is how to take that and do it online, because it's not exactly the same process. It's very difficult because you're not face-to-face. You don't have that face-to-face interaction. And that is really how, like when I put the program together, that was really how I got success with that out of the gate, because I was able to convey that to my students and they were able to start to see success with that. Okay. Now, I launched this in 2019. Well, so I started it in 2019. I first launched last January. And of course, I had no idea that COVID would happen and every art fair and craft show and vintage market across the country would be canceled. So interestingly, like a part of my, especially for my email marketing part, was building your list at shows, because these are the people, they're like white hot leads. I mean, people that buy from you at a show, like there's no one better to be on your email list, because they have already given you money. They have seen your face. They have like taken your stuff home. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. And so many handmade sellers are missing out on that opportunity to get those people on their list.
Yes. Oh, you know how many times did I grab a business card and then lose it? And then forget who that was.
Right. And like a big part of that module in my course was teaching people, you have to ask, like every person who comes into your booth, every person that makes a purchase, invite them to join your email list. And it's not hard. Just, would you like to be on my email list? It's not like you're not asking them to marry you. You're just asking them to write down their name and their email. And they will. If they've bought from you, they will. And that's how I built this list that has literally sustained my business for the last year, because these are the people that bought from me at a show and they know who I am and I've kept in regular contact with them. So they haven't forgotten me in my business. But again, like I had to kind of rejig my messaging, because that wasn't possible. Like after April, it became clear that that wasn't going to be possible this year. And at this point, like I'm not a scientist, so take it for what it's worth. I don't see shows coming back until next fall. I don't think, applications are up now. So handmade sellers are going to be applying for shows and things like that. They're going to get canceled. At like major art fairs and festivals are starting to get canceled now. I'm seeing through March and April. So if you have clients that are handmade sellers and they are slacking on selling online, like you need to get them online, because they're not going anywhere for at least another 5 months.
Oh my gosh, that's really good advice right there. So I was curious how you did the evolution. Like some people I know, they start working one-on-one or do some live group coaching, but you went all straight in with a course so people could watch it at their own time, right? And so one of the reasons I brought you in is you did my bonus for the crash course this round, and I think it goes live today, which is why I was thrilled to have you this week.
Oh, the Shopify bonus goes live today? Oh, good.
So you shared part of your course. Well, with my students to help them do the back end of Shopify for hand makers. So, or handmade sellers. I always say hand makers. I don't know why. But tell everyone what's your big course called?
My big course is called Get Online, Grow Online. And it is literally getting your business online and growing it online.
These creatives are starting not knowing what we all know. Here in this Facebook group, you guys all have an edge. You're aware of what's happening. You see it. And then there's a lot of work to be had helping these sellers get online too. So, well, kudos to you for jumping on that. And plus, you've been around. I love when people have actually done the work and have had the success and then teach the course. And then you're also still doing it. You're still in your business. Like we have very similar business models. Like we're still doing the work. And I just have like mad respect for that.
Thanks. Yeah, I just shipped like 140 packages after Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And it's like, oh, so awesome.
For being here today, right before Christmas too. My goodness. So do you ever have people go through your course do they usually have teams already, or are they just starting out?
Teams?
Yeah. Do they have people working for them at that point? Are they by themselves?
They're by themselves. that hasn't even occurred to a lot of people. And I've made this suggestion for a few. Where I see a lot of people struggling is with listing. One of my students was, I don't know why, she decided she needed to list everything she's ever made all at once before she opened her website. And I was like, literally nobody knows that you have the site. So like, it really doesn't matter. You can get your site out there. You need to add stuff all the time. Like, you can't just put it out there and be like, here's my stuff. You have to keep adding stuff all the time. So you're not helping yourself by like jamming it full and then not doing anything, because that's not helpful.
That was definitely like a mindset issue, like trying to get things perfect and kind of delay a little bit. But I can see why people can be like that with their websites. I see that all the time. Like, it needs to be like done before.
Yeah. And I get that. I understand that, but you have to be like realistic. And I was like, listen, nobody in the world knows that you have this website. Like, you're not going to open it up and get flooded with people. It's not a show where there's people standing outside the door. Nobody knows. And that's like the marketing part. And that's where I see a lot of people, they're used to this model of, I go and I set up at a show and I've got a line of 500 people at the door waiting to come in and shop. And then they come in and buy your stuff and that's it. And that's not how it works online. And then they get upset. I put all this work into my website and nobody came. And it's like, well, there's this other piece called marketing that you have to do.
I see that all the time. Oh my gosh. It's a real thing. It's a real syndrome.
It is. And I think really, especially with people who are used to doing in-person events, because that is how it works in an event. I know, like, I do, Country Living Magazine has a big fair in a few places every year. And they didn't have it this year, but I do that show. And I know come 10 o'clock on Friday morning at Country Living, I'm going to be swamped and I'm going to sell like at least half of what's in my booth. And my booth is packed full. And I understand if I put all that stuff online, the same thing does not happen. And I think people they miss that. It's like, well, I did all this work. I put all these pictures up. I did all this stuff. Nothing happened. And it's like, well, because you went and built an island and sat on your island with your stuff. You need to bring people in. It's different than on a show.
So Carrie wants to know, is there anywhere else that you would recommend for our clients that they sell their physical products besides Etsy? I mean, you said Shopify. Do you have any other suggestions?
I mean, Shopify is just a platform. There's like Shopify and Wix and Squarespace and things like that. Those are all your own standalone website. If they don't want to add their own website, they're going to have a hard time building their brand. Because your website, like, that's your brand. There are some people that sell on Amazon Handmade. It's not my favorite. If you read the fine print on Amazon Handmade, you'll see that you are actually giving them design rights to your design. So once you put it on there, if you get something that's selling like crazy, they have every right to copy it and sell it as their own. I'm not saying they will, but they could.
Whoa, and Etsy doesn't do that. That's big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and nobody reads the fine. Like I said, I pay attention to details, and that was in the fine print. It is. They can copy it. Now, I don't know if they've ever actually done it, but they reserve the right to.
Yeah, that's still scary, and that still communicates a lot. What we talked about already is why you own your own site, right? You get to control it. No one's going to shut you down. You can post what you want. And Shopify, just to clarify to everybody, you can have like your site built on Shopify. You could have a Shopify plugin to like help you sell things. Like, there are different e-commerce tools out there. Shopify is not the only one. It is definitely a favorite, and it has I feel like it's pretty user-friendly, right?
It is. I mean, Shopify is, so like the main difference is Etsy is a marketplace. Etsy, Amazon, eBay, it's a marketplace. It's like a mall. You are just kind of renting a small space there. So they really control everything. Everything looks the same. The shops look the same. A Shopify site, a Wix site, a Squarespace site, those are like building a brick and mortar store. I should say you're still using someone else's platform. So you can't there are a few things that you could do that would get you booted off of there. And I can't imagine anybody doing those things. They have a very specific list, but like human trafficking, drugs, guns, like there's a very specific list of super illegal things that not only will get you kicked off of there, but will probably put you in jail. Right. But it's not like the only way that you 100% own it outright is if you do a raw build of your own website. Even then, you're not allowed to do that illegal stuff. But like Shopify is giving you this platform that allows you to really be in control of your content and be in control of your listings. It is very user friendly. Their customer service is really, for me, the main differentiator between all those other platforms, because they have 24/7 chat and phone support if you're in the US, and like they will get into your shop and help you and help you figure it out, which to me was really key, because I've spent many hours on chat with Shopify figuring things out.
I know what that's like. That is how I built my business.
Yeah. Oh, like, really?
Just figuring stuff out, and you don't always have like the best tools. That's one reason I like Kajabi. They will always be in the chat with me. I mean, I don't always get the answers I want.
Right.
For the most part, they've been so supportive and been really nice. But that is really good to know when you're.
But you know that sometimes it's the same as with Kajabi. You know, sometimes you just got someone who didn't know, so you just go off and ask the same question to someone else. But that's the big difference. Like Wix does not have dedicated chat support. I don't know if Squarespace does or not, but like Shopify does, and it interacts really beautifully with Facebook and with Instagram. So like people who are coming to you saying, I want to have a Facebook shop or I want to have an Instagram shop, it is a pain in the butt to set it up. You are much better to just set them up on Shopify and connect it that way, because people have a lot of trouble with Facebook and Instagram shops just trying to do it from the Facebook build.
I was just going to ask you about that and bring that up, what you thought about the social Okay, start over. My podcast. Put this in the bloopers. Social shopping. Because it's changed from what it was even last year.
Social shopping is a thing, and it's something that you need to be a part of if you're selling products. I will say, and just kind of with everything, even like with what you do, with the, like, people have a skill set, and you need to go with the people that have the skill set that you don't have. So Shopify is a dedicated e-commerce site. If I want to have an e-commerce site, Shopify is the place to go. Facebook is a social media site. They saw a need for people to have places to sell products, and they put something up. Facebook is not an e-commerce site, so they don't do it well. Yeah. And that's the difference. Like, just because somebody does something doesn't mean they do it well. Facebook is good at social media, and they are not so good at e-commerce. It's something that's there, but it's just not a great option. You could go into Facebook, you can create a commerce manager account, you can upload your products into a catalog. It is a giant pain in the butt.
It is so much work.
It never works right. It never connects right. It's just a mess. Then you end up with like all these different catalogs. There's stuff for sale that you don't even have. Like, it's a mess.
I'll delete it and it won't come back.
Yeah.
That's happened.
It's a mess.
Oh my God. Yeah.
There are integrations, because of course, like, they rushed to put this, I think it was like May, like they kind of rushed to put this out there for people, which was great. Like, it's nice to give people an option to sell from, but like their fees are high, and it's just kind of a mess. Now you can integrate Shopify integrates with Facebook, and Facebook and Instagram's the same. So when I say Facebook, I mean both. You can install it as a channel, and it pulls your catalog over from Shopify, and that's the easiest way to do it. So like if I post a picture on Instagram, I can tag my product in Shopify and someone clicks straight through to my site. It's the best integration. It's the easiest integration. It just works really well. And again, my students struggle with this, and I tell them, and I don't think they always believe me, just because there's an integration does not mean it works well. Like, just because two things are hooked up doesn't mean they're hooked up well. And a good example of this is I have students with Weebly Square websites. So Square is a payment processor. That's what they do. They do payment processing, and they do it well. So when you're at a show and you use your payment processor, use your Square reader, like, that's what they do. And they initially had, like, you could set up a Square website, and it was kind of a crappy website, but it gave you a place to sell online. Well, then they bought Weebly in 2018, and Weebly, they decided to use Weebly as their e-commerce platform. Except Weebly isn't an e-commerce platform. Weebly is a blog website that added an e-commerce feature. So again, like, Weebly did blogs well. They don't do e-commerce all that well. It's better than it used to be, but in like the Square Weebly Facebook integration is a mess. It never works right. Like, it never connects right. I've seen people they struggle with it works sometimes, but like I have a couple students that like I know they think I'm making it up, and I'm like, it just doesn't work well.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. This is such good advice. A lot of times I've started with clients and they're like patchworking things. And
Yeah.
when it came to my own business, and I give this advice all the time inside the DCA group right now, just go straight to the best one. Like,
Right.
don't back around. Go with the best platform.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was my sister. Go with the best platform and build
Right.
it, because you're going to have to fix it later.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be on the free thing and the cheap thing, and then it's going to
Right.
be a big pita when you got to move it and do
Yeah.
the right way. And I love that you're like talking the same language.
It is. And if like when those kind of things, you get what you pay for. And if you think you're setting up a free website, you're setting up a crappy website. And that's the bottom line. And by the time you pay to add on all the features that you need to add on in order to make it work, you're now paying more than the $29 a month you'd pay at Shopify. Like when you get to the same features, they're all about the same price. Yeah. So actually I saw someone, it just says Facebook user, so I don't know who it is. Someone asked what the most affordable way to own your own website is. Who can you use that will let you keep your, okay. So domain name and website are two different things. You can have a domain name is just like a name. A website is a place. So I use GoDaddy. I don't know who you use, but that's who I like to use. It's easy. They've been around, again, like going with people, like that's what they do. They do domain names.
Yeah.
And you can point it to anywhere. So like if you're building a Shopify site or a Wix site or Squarespace, any of those platforms will offer you the opportunity to purchase your domain name through them. And I don't recommend doing that, because if you ever decide you want to move, you can switch that name. It is difficult. They make you wait. It's a pain in the butt. Yeah. So like I buy domain names all the time. I get ideas or I see things. I buy domain names all the time. So I got a whole long list of them, and I just buy them in GoDaddy because I can point them to wherever I want.
Yeah. Dee went all in with a website and some work with that, and I think she might have gone down a rabbit hole with that. So I know she's struggling with it. But for me, I did GoDaddy. I've had to fix that stuff for clients with who they host with and where they build, and it was exactly as you described. I know some people complain about GoDaddy. For me, it's been great. They have a chat. I have never had an issue. If a website went down, they would always help me. But I do WordPress. I like my clients to be on WordPress, depending on who they are, but for the most part, because they're more content marketers, and that feature, the SEO is so good there, and you have a lot of possibilities. But it's not right for everybody just starting out. It's not. So if you do have a client that is the maker, going straight to Shopify might be the option. But that's not the best solution for somebody who's selling digital products. No,
there's lots of options for that. There's lots of good options for that, because you don't have to ship anything, so you don't have to have like a shipping plugin. And I don't know if I finished answering this question though, asking if there was anywhere else I'd recommend besides Etsy selling. Yeah, I think if they're not going to they need to have a dedicated e-commerce site or Etsy, ideally both. Other than that, like you don't want to go on like people sell on Amazon Handmade. It's just not my thing.
What about Facebook Marketplace?
No, Facebook. I was just going to say, like, not eBay, that's a flea market. Like, not eBay or not Facebook Marketplace, unless that's your business. Like, people go onto Facebook Marketplace to an old word, dicker. Yeah, haggle.
Yeah, like lowball you is what I really want.
I mean, what are you like? If you were going to Facebook Marketplace and you saw this necklace for $56, would you buy it? Like, is that what you're looking for there? Would you think like, oh, that's a high quality handmade piece? It's on Facebook Marketplace, where people also sell used tires and baby strollers.
Yeah, and like overpriced used baby toys, I see that, and then I'm seeing a lot of weird new stuff that people are bringing in, like furniture. I see a lot of like furniture companies.
Yeah, they're drop shipping that stuff. I will say there is a caveat, I think, for Facebook Marketplace. I see a lot of people selling things like wreaths or holiday decor or things like that. Like those tend to do well simply because they're better for local pickup.
Oh.
Like seasonal and holiday decor. But I also will say, like, there's last year was a big thing, and I don't know if it's a big thing this year. and Cricut groups. They do, I call them dollar store crafts. That's what people call them. They had these little elves and they were putting kids' names on them. And they, like, people went on Facebook Marketplace to sell those and they were selling them like crazy, but they're $5. So is it really worth your effort to be, to be like doing something like that for like not only to only make $5, but like to get hassled about it?
So I may have told you this, but I don't know if my world really knows. I had an Etsy shop for a while. When I first started staying at home, I taught myself to sew because, like you, I needed something to do and I needed something tangible. And I was doing baby slings, and then I realized I don't want to be liable for babies falling out. Mm-hmm. And I started sewing hooded towels, and I did really well with that. But it was hard. Everybody wanted like a custom version of it. It was hard. And I wasn't even scraping the marketing part of it. It was just to keep me kind of busy. But I felt like I learned so much. And then this other opportunity opened up where I got to use my PR skills. But it was a labor of love. But when I looked at the math, how like materials, and I mean, I was probably making like $2 an hour.
Right. Handmade, oh God, pricing is like the biggest thing. Yeah, if you want to take a note, I feel like I'm all over the place. If you want to take a note, make sure your people are pricing their stuff for profit and not for cash flow. Gosh. Because there was someone in a group the other day selling gorgeous Native American style jewelry out of like turquoise and coral, and she had this necklace and it was $20. And I was like I actually was like, you put $20, like I thought it was $200, and I'm like, you only put $20 on this, and she's like, yeah, I sell at craft shows, and I was like, get that out of here, like you can't. She had to have spent more than $20 on the beads alone.
Oh my God! But
something that handmade sellers in particular really struggle with and simply don't understand is that making cash is not the same as making profit. Just because I give someone this necklace and they give me $20 does not mean I have earned $20.
Oh my and so glad.
It's such an awful, like it's such an awful thing. And they think, even like it shows, they think, well, if I lower my price, more people will buy. But if you don't have anyone seeing your stuff, then lowering your price doesn't matter.
No, and it starts to attract a different crowd too.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God. It does. But I'll have people that'll say, well, I lowered my price on my website. My stuff was, $40 and I lowered it to $30 because nobody was buying. And it's like, okay, was anybody looking? Well, no. Okay, so now you have cheaper stuff that nobody's looking at. The problem wasn't the pricing, the problem was the marketing. The problem was you weren't getting people to your website. If you're getting people to your website and they're adding it to the cart and they're not buying it, that might be a pricing problem. But if you're not getting people to your website, then how could the price possibly matter? Nobody has seen the price.
Yeah. But people they just want to immediately, I mean, we do it in our world as freelancers, immediately discount our services and devalue it. Oh my gosh, I was in a Facebook group that we're both part of, and somebody was asking for a designer, and I started to write a comment and I just deleted it and walked away. But somebody wanted an entire ebook of like hundreds of pages designed in Canva, which is not, easy to duplicate designs, and it's no InDesign. And I know she had talked to a couple of my people and didn't like the pricing. And then I saw one lady in a group say, I'll do it for $65. And I was like mortified. I'm like, that's probably like 20 hours of work. Like you don't even know you don't even really know what you're getting into. Like you're hearing what you want to hear. But anyway, I love that coaching on that, because I have to tell my people that too. You've got to up your rates. Like
Yeah, but then you get a $65 product. Like she's gonna get a $65 product.
That too. We both know she's not gonna be happy.
Yeah.
I'll tell you later.
Setting expectations. Yeah, I'm curious to know. Setting expectations is important. And here's the thing: if somebody, if you put it out there and someone decides it's not worth it, or they don't want to invest that, well, that's fine. Like, it's no skin off your back. It doesn't, like, if somebody else doesn't share your perception of that value, it doesn't mean it doesn't have that value. It means that it doesn't have that value to them. Like it'll have that value to somebody else.
Exactly. That's really good. And that's how you walk away to the next client and the next.
And it's not personal. It's not like, oh, I don't like you as a person and I don't think you're worth that. It's this service to me is not worth this amount of money right now.
Yeah.
And to someone else, it's going to be worth that amount of money. So it's not like business is business. It has nothing like you have to take that personal stuff out of it. If your work is worth money, then you better charge that money, because people aren't just going to come up and offer it to you. They're not going to be like, oh, this was worth a lot more, let me give you more money. That's not how it works.
Only in my dreams.
Yeah, right.
So when are you opening your course again? We didn't even talk about this ahead of time, but
I know,
no pressure.
If I really had my act together, I would be able to give you an exact date. I believe I'm going to be opening it. I'm looking here at I'm only doing a 1 week cart open this time, because last time I did it for like 2 weeks and it was a nightmare.
Yeah.
So I think I'm opening cart on January 18th and closing on the 22nd.
Perfect.
I'm adding some new bonuses this time. I'm adding in, I have a branding module. Like everybody starts with branding, and I have that module. And I realized as I've gotten to know my students and as I've seen the things that they needed, I assumed incorrectly that because they were creatives, they were coming in with an established brand. And I was incorrect. They don't. They think they have a brand. They might have a business name, but as I said, even things like we had a big discussion in our private student group about how like they were coming out there. It was like, I'm one thing on Instagram and I'm this thing on Facebook and I'm this thing on Pinterest and I have this website. I'm like, none of those things are the same. Like, that's ridiculous. So I'm starting out just adding in basic font pairings, color pairing. In Canva, they have you can basically pick a brand in Canva, and people don't know about that feature. So I'm adding some of that stuff in there for this next round. And if anybody out here, I'll put this plug out. I would like to, we traded bonuses last time. Everybody loves the gift bonus. The gift bonus is awesome.
Good.
So awesome. And I want to trade bonuses with somebody who can teach in my course, or even just do a workshop or something on product photography. So if anybody knows anybody who'd be willing to trade with me, I'm not in the position where I can pay somebody right now to create content for me, but I am more than happy to trade bonuses, to offer coaching, to.
No, I might have some photographers in here, but I'll think about too who I know.
Yeah.
I feel like that it would be such a good thing to add for your student. And I wanted you to talk about this. I have a lot of DIY creative entrepreneurs who follow me. So I wanted you to bring up your course. And then also for students, if you're finding my business owner needs help, this just isn't enough. Maybe they went all in a course that they weren't ready for and they need to get back to basics and how to sell online. Lucy would be the perfect instructor. And you do have that well-rounded experience to help them.
Yeah.
From the
it's definitely a different, the mechanics of setting it up is one thing, but the intricacies of marketing as a handmade seller, I think, is something that, again, it feels really awkward for me to say, but I feel like it's something that I do well because I do it well in my own handmade business. And the people who have taken my course are seeing success in doing that now. Right now, we're actually in my free group, I'm running a 30-day social media posting challenge. And man, those people are kicking butt. And it's so simple. They're posting every day, and I'm emailing out a daily prompt of what to post. And it's working because that's how, it's not magic. That's how it works, you show up every day and your numbers start to increase. But just having that win, I'm actually using that. That's my pre-launch, but we'll get to the end of the month and we'll look at numbers and everybody's numbers are going to be high. And then it's going to be yeah, you can learn other stuff from me too. Here's my course.
I think this would be great for any of you all who have this type of client who is a handmade seller. And I did post a link inside the event. We'll post it again after we're done. So you could get on that. You could get your client on it. It could be good for you if you're the one helping your clients with the post to get some ideas what to do. And build that network. So I think that you're a great resource for the client and the behind the scenes marketer and, virtual assistant, all of my people here in this group. So I'm thrilled to have you today. Or do you have any other resources you want to share? So you have your challenge going on now.
I have my challenge going on now. I do have, did I give you the freebie that I have, the content stuff?
I can't remember.
It was 3 months of content, although now that we're in December, it's now 2 months of content because I added on January, but I'm going to be making up a new one. Okay. But I would say that the challenge has been working really well.
Right.
And so I would say if anybody wants to get on that, I can give you the link. I will warn you, you get an email from me every single day. That's the challenge, is I email you with a prompt. So don't get, like, if you sign up for it, I would love for you to, but don't get upset if you get an email every day, because you're going to get an email every day.
Yeah.
And it's just an email that says, like, this is the prompt post. And like I give, this is, you know, what we're posting about today. I give an example of what you should put as a graphic. I give an example of wording, and then I give an example of how I would word it.
Awesome.
It's to get, again, like, it's my pre-launch, it's to get people used to the idea of what to put out there, because I think people are like, well, there's only so much of my product I can post. And it's like, yeah, don't post your product all the time. Yeah. You don't have to do that.
I especially post you can do without your client that you could do as the VA behind the scenes,
Yeah.
you know, the social media VA. Good. So definitely go sign up for that, you guys. If you have these type of clients or you're curious, you want to get smarter, this would be a great niche for a lot of you, especially those of you who come from this world. You like this stuff. It's a feel good industry. You know, we're not writing about like podiatry, foot problems. Writing about things that make people happy, and my bleeding heart loves helping the creative get savvy in the online world and helping them make money. Like, I feel so good about myself when I can help business owners like this. So I know some of you will love this industry and this niche. So thanks so much for having us.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. If anybody has any questions, feel free. I have a group too. If you go to bloomcraftgroup.com, it will take you to my Facebook group and you can join in.
Go check out your jewelry. We'll post a ton of links after this. I really want to go look at that Indian inspired jewelry you're talking about. But
oh, that wasn't me. That was somebody else.
I know. I'm like,
oh, the $20 jewelry. I should have bought it. I could have bought every piece and just resold.
Yeah. And everyone who's one of our students, go check out the Shopify bonus. Get smart on Shopify. That bonus drops this week. And if it's not open now, I'm going to go publish it right now. So, all right, we'll talk to you later. Merry Christmas.
All right. Thanks, Emily.
Bye.
Bye.